Hello and welcome to the Next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. Graham, what do you know about YouTube?
I've watched it. I know a little bit because our guest today had a little video showing how potentially you could use it, and I kind of watched that, and I was so taken with it that I thought there is no way on earth that we're not going to ask Simon Young to join us on the Next 100 Days podcast. So Simon, welcome.
Yeah, nice to be here. Really do appreciate the opportunity for you guys bringing me on.
Yeah. Simon, like Graham, I've dabbled in YouTube.
Dabbled?
Never ever classed myself as an expert, so I'm looking forward to this.
I really think that is the issue for a lot of people, that they have dabbled and don't see it necessarily as a really important channel. I think everyone knows that, you know, if you spend an awful lot of time and commitment working at it, it can be amazing, and it can produce, you know, well, everyone talks about thousands and thousands of pounds in terms of advertising revenue, but to get to that sort of stage, It requires a plan and an awful lot of work. Yeah.
You must have, first of all, your company is S.media, and anybody looking to find out more about Simon, you can go to s.media. That's all you need to put into your URL. Is that right?
Yeah, www.s.media. It's a single character domain name. Yeah, we're lucky enough to have that one.
Wow. You must have paid somebody a fortune, or not. But basically, or did you just get in early, Simon?
You just need to be there at the right time. So right. The interesting thing is with Web3, maybe we'll get on to talking about that later on. But Web3, there's a lot of those type of domains that are available at the moment, and it's still early.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get on to that. My first thought was, you've kind of touched on it already. The whole idea of YouTube to people like me is that I kind of know it's there. I kind of know it's important, but I just don't quite know how it works. But I really want to use it. It's just that I just don't know how it works. So start us at the Billy Basic level, so we get an understanding, so both Kevin and I can sort of come up the curve a little bit.
So the hard part is to get an audience, and that's where everybody gives up, is because, you know, you start putting some content together, and in reality, if you're putting that content together, use it across all of your social channels, but remember to obviously then put it onto YouTube as well. And it's very disheartening. You know, maybe you've been doing it for 3 or 6 months, and you're looking at your videos on YouTube and you've got, you know, 10 views, or you've maybe got a couple of hundred subscribers, and it's painful. There's a lot of ways you can fast forward that, but it is about being consistent and being genuinely you know, that a lot of people are out there not being themselves and not talking to their specific audience. So, you know, I tell people, don't be too broad. Don't try and appeal to people that wouldn't be your perfect customer, because you'd rather have 50 people watching you who are perfect rather than 10,000 people who are, you know, never going to buy from you in a million years.
Yeah. You're not serving any purpose doing that. And so that's encouraging. So if my 10 views of one of my videos are the perfect people, then, well, brilliant. But probably not. You know, it might be sort of, I don't know, random people who've just wandered onto it. But then again, how would I know? I mean, is there any analytics that would tell me a little bit about the people who are actually watching my videos?
No. And that's the problem for a lot of people is, yes, you can get sort of ages. Google's clamping down. All of the companies are clamping down. Apple clamping down massively on privacy. You'll see it across all the websites now. Accept cookies, these cookies, those cookies. You know, what do you want? And the tracking is really difficult. But that's because Google keep it as they want the data. They've got all of that data. They know everything, right? Absolutely everything about everybody. But then they're selling that data without giving the actual access. So if you can specify within an ad campaign who you want your video in front of, then it will go to the perfect person. You know, in my book, I talk about when I've mentioned certain words in conversation, and they get picked up by the search engines. They get picked up by WhatsApp. Anything you've got on your device is listening to you continuously, and you'll then see adverts that are directed at you. And try it out if you haven't. Talk about a brand of car that you've never considered buying today, and have your app on. Don't even message anybody, because the spooky thing is they are listening. And then you'll get the ads. So it's not difficult to get it in front of the right people. Google and all of the other search engines and Apple and all those guys, Amazon, they all know everything about everybody, but they just won't share that data with you necessarily.
It's almost like you can't blame them, because if they've got that monopoly on that data, but you can still at least use that data to target an audience that's ideal for you, then that seems fair enough. At the end of the day, Google's been around for I think I was one of the early beta users with a friend of mine, and so it's mid 90s or something like that, but basically of that order. It's been a long time ago. So but it seems to me that's a fair way. I don't want to stop anybody making any money, but at the end of the day, if I can make more money with their talents, with their data, then isn't that a good thing?
Well, they're the wolf in sheep's clothing. Absolutely. They hold all of that data and sell it. And at the same time tell people that they're protecting your privacy. So it's very easy to look at them as, well, they've got to make profit. That's what they're there to do. They're going to protect their position. Google is by far the number one and has, ultimate power pretty much over what everybody sees on a daily basis, which is quite scary. I was talking to some of the youngsters in my office about the last election campaign, and without getting into politics, but we looked at what they were getting exposed to through, Facebook, Twitter, other social medias that, you and I probably don't use, being longer in the tooth. But what they were seeing is absolutely manipulated by Google, the masses, what other people want them to see. So
in America, it's left. Is it left in this country as well? Because I wouldn't have a clue.
Depends on the age bracket and plus people are spinning up ad campaigns and false information, and who knows what goes on with Russia and all that sort of stuff.
There's an old school friend of mine, Ian Lucas, who became MP for Wrexham. He's no longer an MP, but he's published a book on the impact of social media on politics. He's a Labour MP. He believes that the party that have got all the money to spend on social media are the Conservatives, and therefore it's had the biggest impact on them.
Well, I was asked.
He could be an interesting podcast guest, Graham.
Again,
he could be an interesting podcast guest for the future.
A Labour MP on this podcast. Blimey.
I was asked to do a bit of work for Conservative MP at the last election. And what you see goes on in the background is ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, look, the thing is, this is, let's face it, what we're trying to do with our businesses is find people who are find that hungry audience of people who would be interested in buying our burgers. So the whole idea of this is, okay, I don't really know enough to, how do I take a video and stick it on YouTube for it to be successful?
Yeah. So the really interesting thing is choosing that audience. And that's the bit that I enjoy, is finding where people are going. So for example, you might have a desire to have your product in front of your competitors' customers, right? So you can quite easily target competitors' websites, people who've been on their websites, even individual pages within their websites. So you could say just the checkout page or just a particular article. You can use particular apps. So you could say someone who's been on a particular app or an industry app, or they filled in a particular survey, not necessarily yours. You can target those people. Then you can say, I want people between a certain age. You can say, I want male or female. You can say they are people who are interested in Audi, or they've got other interests, and you can combine all of these things together. Now, that's where it gets really interesting. If you combine, and let's just make up a scenario here, we're wanting somebody who reads the Financial Times, who drives a top-end Audi, has also been on the Institute of Directors website, and uses a fitness app, right? So we know that they're probably high income, and they're also, let's say, 50 to 55 male, right? We're starting to get really specific now about who that person is. But then the interesting part then is you can run your ads and you can get your videos in front of people for less than a penny. So when you talk about ads spend on Facebook, for example, it can be what's called cost per 1,000 views. Yeah. So that might be £4, £8, £10 per 1,000, depending on how you're targeting. Now on YouTube, they give you something called a true view, which means you won't pay until somebody's watched 30 seconds or more of your video, which is, this is the interesting part, because you can then weed out the people you don't want. So in that first 30 seconds, you can put some things that you'll often see on a lot of these type of videos. If this isn't for you, please, that you're trying to actually get rid of the people that you don't want from the viewership. But then we can analyze how long people watch, what they do, the actions they take. Do they click through? Do they then ultimately make a phone call or buy? And then go back and reverse engineer from the targeting and the audience what was successful. So you might find in that example that we've just given there, we find that it's the people who are, let's say we were targeting 50 to 55, 55 to 60. Now we're seeing a market difference that is better, the 50 to 55. We might make a presumption. Now, this is the worst, we all know presumption is the root to all sorts of problems, but yes. We might make a presumption that those guys are more of a working age, right? That might be a massive presumption, but yeah, like they're more family men, they've not gone into retirement yet, etc. Right? Yeah. They might have a higher disposable income because some of them haven't retired. It's all of that, right? So once you start looking back at the data, you can then further change those campaigns for the next iteration and test to then target further. And now within that group, we're going to make some plans, and we're obviously going to write those down. That's the important thing, and test, and then run again. But that's how you get, if somebody wanted to say, well, I've got a client who's a mortgage advisor, and she targets young couples, right, who are 20 to 25, right? So they're probably in this day and age, maybe not in the perfect spot for buying their first house, because they might not be able to afford it yet. But that's where she puts her, that's her mainstay customer. Now she'll put that ad out there to people in that age bracket who are in certain towns and cities. So you can do location targeting as well. And she can add into you might put a video up saying, so people of Birmingham, Birmingham being topical because of the Commonwealth Games, but people of Birmingham, we are here to help you with your mortgage, blah, 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 blah. If you're not looking for your first home, and this is in the first 30 seconds, please click off, this isn't for you. Now those people who watched up to there, you've still got in front of them. Maybe you're in their mind for the future, but you've taken your brand out of their eye line. And now the people who watch on, so after 30 seconds, we might go on to explain a case study about Simon and Cheryl, who've just, they've got their first home and they worked with XYZ company, and how successful it was. And they got a guarantee off their mum and dad. It's all of this, right? So people now feel like they're part of the story. Yeah. And then we're going to go and give them do you want to come and talk to us? We can send you some information, or watch this webinar, or come onto our site and learn a bit more. Just take them on a journey. And then what you can even do, the people who've watched a certain percentage of that video, so the people who watch 3/4 of that video, we make a separate video just for them that they will receive 7 days later. And then we can see how many of them watch that, how much they watch of it. Do they come, and do we get a marked difference between the number of inquiries from video 1 to video 2? And we can work out the exact cost per inquiry. So we can say, look, on video 1, it was costing us 2 pence a view for people who watch past 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And we got 1% click-through rate. So it's costing us £2 to get somebody to click through. Out of those ones that were £2, 1 in 5 made an inquiry. So at that point, we've got a £10 inquiry figure, etc., all of that sort of stuff. I've probably gone on too long.
No. But actually, that last bit there, I mean, Kevin was salivating because it's all about numbers. But for me, I do that kind of analysis every day because it works in all kinds of different media. So from that point of view, if you are describing a situation where it might be £10 per inquiry for somebody who is pretty much line ball for you, bang on your target audience, then most people, I mean, certainly in the kind of people I'm dealing with, would snap your hand off for that. But is it likely that in your experience that ranges from, let's just say £10 up to a lot more?
It does, absolutely. And it does. It is always higher when you start out. And this is where a lot of people give up as well, because you have to give the campaigns time to learn. So Google's AI is continued. You're telling Google this was a success. So I got a success from this person. Now, as we talked about earlier, we don't know who that person is, but Google knows everything about that person. So let's say that conversion was from a 25-year-old woman, and she works in a supermarket, and she likes to go onto Instagram, and she's also into horse riding, right? Let's just make that scenario up, right? Now, we don't know that, but Google knows that. And what it will do is then give you more of that type of person as we go forwards. Now, we don't know that that's right, and neither does Google. So it will then continually test and test and test. But the more conversions we get, the more it learns. And then it will give you more of that same person. So obviously the cost per conversion is always higher at the start. These types of campaigns, they typically take about 3 months to get to full maturity. And then it's got enough data, depending on how much you're spending. If somebody's spending £5 a day, it's going to take a lot longer than if somebody's spending £500 a day, obviously, because it gets that much more data. And it is just then about the data, because Google is putting those pieces together, as well as someone like me or yourself who is feeding it good data in the first place, and then looking at the results. A lot of people get lazy. They sit back and they just let Google do the job. And what we've got to remember, Google's overriding objective is to take as much money as it can out of your bank account, right? That's where we've got to be careful. So if you let campaigns become tired, or because I always see a campaign sort of 6 to 8 weeks in, it's doing really well, everyone's pleased, and then you'll see a drop off, right? You will see a downturn, and Google either then is saying, right, spend more money or do a better job, because they don't want to keep putting the same ad in front of the same people. And so you have to, that's why Google Ads, really good Google Ads agencies and people who run YouTube ads campaigns, that's why we exist, is to make those improvements, continually analyze the data, make that campaign grow and grow and grow. Because you find a lot of these campaigns, they become static, and people then give up again. And this is another challenge. One of the other challenges is we get, or someone says, well, the quality of the lead isn't quite as good as I expected. Well, then we need to do more work inside the campaign to identify at the back end, because Google doesn't know your conversion in e-commerce. Obviously they know, if somebody presses a button and buys something, they get a lot more data, right? But in a business where we have to pick the phone up and get somebody across the line, we need to be the ones feeding that data back. And again, people get lazy. They don't feed back into the system to say this was a valuable conversion, this was a time waster, because otherwise Google will just carry on giving you more and more time wasters, right? So if you get 7 or 8 phone calls and you get 2 people to buy, the 5, we want to know why they weren't as good as we wanted, and tell Google that.
Okay.
And you would tell, sorry, Kevin, but you would tell Google in what the console in some where do you tell people?
Yeah,
Where
so
do you tell people?
you're marking the valuable conversions, and this is where it gets super complicated in the back end.
Okay. All right.
And you've got to have the systems to do that. So you need a really good first. So we don't go straight for person watches video, person makes phone call, person converts to business, right?
Yeah.
The first conversion is probably somebody watches X percentage of our video, right? Yeah. So that's good. We're getting people that are interested. Now, second conversion is they come onto the site. How much time do they spend on the site? Now, that might be slightly irrelevant because they might find exactly what they want immediately and pick the phone up. So what we need to set up is phone call within X time on site equals success.
And they would know there is a phone call.
Yes.
On the back of the fact they've clicked the phone number on the site itself. But if they didn't and they just typed it into their mobile, would Google
there's ways to track that as well by using a specific phone number. So we only display a phone number that's relevant to that ad, right?
Right, got you.
So then we get a phone call. Now we also want to then record the length of the phone call. Now, in the scenario if we're looking for the time wasters, you might tell me that somebody who spends 15 minutes on the phone, or if we took 100 phone calls, and this is where we need the data again, right? So we take 100 phone calls. Typically, we get somebody to do what we want within 5 minutes. Let's say that as a scenario. Now, the people who spend 10 minutes on the phone, they're all time wasters, or we never get them across the line, or they tend to be asking too many questions. We know that they're in our minds. We know they're not right. Now, we can set within Google the success of a phone call for 5 minutes is very valuable. A phone call for 10 minutes is less valuable. Not massively. Like, we can set the numbers. We can say a phone call for 5 minutes is worth to us £100.
Yeah.
Now, a phone call to 10 minutes is worth £50. Now, it might be a bit the other way round, because we might find that the longer the phone call is better. But I think you see what I mean. But we can that data then gets fed automatically back into Google to say, it's better if we get someone on the phone for this period rather than this period. And that's teaching it.
So it's teaching you that Tom is a really good prospect, Kevin not so much, and Joe complete time waster. So maybe concentrate on Tom and Kevin. Correct.
Yeah, and Google then learns that. So it then learns that Tom is a guy who owns a Ford and works in Boots, and even things like he lived at home with his mum and dad in a semi-detached, right? It knows all of that, and he supports ex-football team, right? All of that stuff, which we could never.
I'll bet it was Newcastle United. I'll bet it was Newcastle United, because he's clearly a bit of a loser. Sorry, Kevin. Kevin, you were about to say something.
Graham.
Sorry, you were about to say something, Kevin.
Yeah. Let's just wind back. So we're saying we're starting off with the issue. We've got a Google video. It's appealing to a certain group of people, and we want to use it to sell a product. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, our initial problem was, how do we get people to watch that video? Okay. So we're saying Google ads.
Yeah.
We're saying YouTube ads. Okay. So I go into YouTube normally as a result of looking for something very specific. I might be going in because I've seen a link to somebody's channel I'm subscribing to, and I go in there, watch that video. Maybe like last night, I was trying to figure out what I needed to do to replace a smoke alarm. So I was Googling replacing particular type of smoke alarm, found the YouTube video, went into it. Okay. Now, when I go into that video, I'm probably shown an advert at the beginning. Then the video I want to play afterwards. But now, what am I actually paying for in terms of the ad here, Simon? Is it that initial getting the video I'm searching for in front of me when I'm in Google looking for the thing in the first place? Is it showing me that that's the one that's going to crop up? Or is this one of the ads that's going to play before I get to the video that I want?
So there's several different advertising solutions that you can choose. So you can choose what would be called a bumper ad, which is at the start. You can either run that as a video where we'll only pay if somebody watches 30 seconds, or you can force them to watch it. So you will have seen sometimes you get an ad that you have to watch 15 seconds of.
Yeah. But
what we're more talking about now are what are called in-stream ads. So we're looking at somebody who's watching a video. So maybe you've searched what is a fixed term mortgage, right? I don't know like whether this is relevant, but I've searched fixed term mortgages for first time buyers, and I'm trying to learn. And I'm watching a video that's from a financial advisor or one of St. James's Place or something like that. Now, your ad can then pop up part way through that video, and somebody might just click straight off of it and go, no, I want to carry on watching what I'm watching. I don't want you interrupting me. So that's fine. We don't pay. Now, if we do interrupt them and they then start to watch, then we'll pay. So we're quite happy to pay when somebody pays attention. And that's what's called the true view. So we actually then get, you've got to be careful because you don't want to serve your ads into, for example, music channels, because somebody could be just have YouTube on in the background listening to music, and your ad pops up. Well, then do they just leave it? They're not even listening or paying attention, or they just click straight off of it, or they're away from their machine. They come back, get rid of the ads. Yeah. So what we want to do is make sure we're targeting the right set of channels. Now, the other thing we can do is target very specific channels. So through a set of keywords, if you said, and we're using the mortgage advisor example here, if you said, I want to target channels that are about mortgages, about pensions, about endowments, whatever, right? You choose a list of keywords. People are searching for, can I get a mortgage when I'm under 25, right? Really specific terms. That's when you can put into the channels that those people are watching. But again, the important thing is, and this is the difference between Facebook advertising, where I see a lot of people in financial services advertising on Facebook, and I've got some incredible results. I've got people that are getting leads for £6 to £10 on Facebook, right? But the quality is the difference. So if you might pay a bit more with YouTube, but you're getting really specific and you get campaigns that properly learn. So I would rather pay £15, £20 a lead when I know that I get 3 out of 10 across the line, rather than have to deal with hundreds of phone calls. Because I've had that scenario where I was getting 1,200 leads a month for one of my clients on Facebook, and he was only getting an 8% conversion rate, which he thought was painful because he's having to make a lot of phone calls. He's dealing with a lot of inquiries. Overall, his cost per lead or cost per conversion, which is where we want to get to, because we want to teach these campaigns what's the actual cost per conversion. And when we know that if I could guarantee you for £150, you get somebody across the line and you get 10 of those a day, I think people will bite your hand off for it, right? Because it's printing money at that point. But
sorry to cut across, but is that the solution for, I've got clients in mind that where basically they have a sort of a budget in mind, because ultimately they do, and that budget is driven by the allowable cost per acquisition and effectively or cost per conversion. But effectively what you've got there is a budget of, I don't know, call it £5,000, and you took £5,000 and you worked all the way back to the start of the campaign. Is that something that S.media would be able to sort of envisage? So you could sort of say, right, okay, well, I think I can get you, for the sake of argument, five leads a week who are all of this sort of quality, and it's going to be, whatever it is at the end of it. Can you work back in terms of the campaign and the filtering of the types of individuals so you can get to that end result? Is that how you do it? Do you start with the end in mind, or you start at the beginning?
Start with your target where you want to get to, absolutely. And that's, we have to say, what is the acceptable cost per conversion by the point we get to the end of a test campaign. So that we always run a test period of 3 months.
Yeah.
And people have to understand and allocate a budget that fits that, right? And understand also that we're trying to end up with that target cost per acquisition. We will know cost per lead very quickly, and we will see that improve as we improve the targeting. I think you lost my camera for a second, but right. So you'll see that develop over the period. It's working with the client to get to that goal. Now, that's the frustration. That is the hardest part of my job, is getting to that point of, the utopian dream, right? If I could give you that cost per acquisition on day 1 or day 30, you'd be right. Let's just throw as much money into this as we can. And that you have to also be very careful with that as well, because scaling these type of campaigns, that's where I see a lot of people going wrong, is trying to grow these campaigns too quickly. Right. And it's very tempting to go, right, we're getting leads I've had somebody say to me, right, I've got 100 leads this month. Can I just have 5,000 next month? No, you can't, because you can't throw money at it, because you will find it goes the other way. Because you've got to remember, overarching principle, Google will open your wallet and take out as much as it can without caring, right? We've got to be careful.
One of the things, it seems obvious that we are talking about YouTube, and of course, YouTube is all about videos. So do your clients come along and say, Simon, have you seen this? This is the video I want to use. And, it's got me in shot, and, I'm talking my own very special guff. And basically, I would want you to use that. Or do you say, actually, this type of market, maybe this is the best approach?
So it's a split test. So some people come to us with video they want to use. We will always make recommendations around, well, we think this, or can we add that in? Or maybe can we just have the first 30 seconds to camera? Or see, a lot of people, they don't want to go on camera as well. That's a massive challenge. That's what really holds YouTube back. YouTube ads is, look, you want me in front of camera, right? Or like, I've walked into customers' offices where we've planned out a filming day, and I've seen people go off to be sick, where they're that nervous that they don't want. And if that's you, and it took me ages to get used to going on camera, and you can't expect people none of us are Hollywood actors, right? None of us really want to do it, but there's ways to do it. So there's ways to have several cameras, and this is if we do a production, right? We can do voiceover. You can use actors if you want, right? I've used actors in plenty of these ads. There's nothing like the real McCoy, right? If you can get on camera for, even if it's only like 7 to 10 seconds, we can all deliver something really good for 5 to 10 seconds, right? And if we have to film it 15 times, we will, to get the one cut we want, right? Yeah. And then you can put something up on the screen, like a screenshot, and then you can do another 10 seconds and just break it up like that. It's really easy. But to answer the question that you asked in the first place, what we would probably do is take 3 or 4 different videos and test them. And this is because, again, if we presume this will work, I don't want to be turning around to the client and say, well, sorry, at the end of the day, it was your video was no good. What we want to be able to do is say, well, we tried this version of yours and we split tested it against what I thought and another version. Or we went and looked at some competitors' videos who we already know are doing really well. Now, this isn't rocket science, because if people are listening to this and they run PPC campaigns, the best piece of advice you can get is search the terms that you want to appear for, find the adverts that are running, because those people aren't spending money for the fun of it, right? So find their adverts and copy them. And then look at the other videos that people have had up. So I've got tools where I can look and see, right, here's a video that somebody's used as an advert in that same niche, and it's been up for 9 months and they've spent £300,000 on it, right? Again, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. So, okay. The idea of copying the customer makes a bit of sense, particularly if it's working, but you're not literally copying, because basically you're creating your own version that appeals to the same sort of motives, I guess. One of the things you said earlier, which I was on I do a sort of a 10K, 10-step walk most days. And I was listening to a podcast, and this woman was saying how important it is to do copywriting to women. And I get some clients coming along saying, "Oh, well, it's the men who spend the money and all the rest of that." And I'm thinking, but okay, but what this woman was saying, she did a bit of research. This is in America, and basically she did some research in the information marketing space. 85% of American GDP, women are driving the sale. Yeah. And it was like, because even if the car needs servicing or repairs or whatever, I mean, you'd have expected the woman to have been driving, of course. But sorry, you might have to cut that bit out, Kevin. But the PC brigade, but it would have been the woman, wouldn't it? But the point being is that she'll fix it. She'll get it sorted. So actually, there's an awful lot of, if you like, the commissioning of expenditure coming from women. So would you ever, apart from maybe, I don't know, male porn sites or whatever, would you ever rule them out?
Well, can I give you the perfect example and something that we actually put into place for a client?
Yeah.
We had a client who was doing time and attendance systems. So we searched time and attendance on Google, and up come 4 adverts: time and attendance, time and attendance, time and attendance, time and attendance, all the same, right? So Andy, my business partner, and I sat down, and Andy's the copywriting genius, right? And we looked at it and we went, well, how can we stand out in that market? Now, when people look at those 4 ads, we don't know whether they're male or female at that point, to your point of, is it targeted enough? No. So we thought about, what is somebody feeling when they're looking at that advert? Now, that is probably an HR manager. Maybe it's a woman. That might be a massive over assumption, but I think most of that profession are female. Now, we wrote an ad that said, Sarah is late for work again. And that's what went up, right? And the click-through rate was 4 times higher. Now, if you apply that same principle to video and to the fact that we can now target people by gender, by age, etc., etc. Now, if we're showing an advert to women, and it comes up and it is another woman saying, I can't believe Sarah's late for work again, that starts to feel a lot more like something somebody and it is the emotion, right? It is, you've got to talk to the emotion, that put yourself in the person's shoes. And if you look at those 4 time and attendance adverts, they're not doing that. They're just, do you want to buy my widgets, right? What we want to do is, I want to sell you what you need.
Yeah. That's such a great point. And it seems like all the brains are in your partner's head. Is that right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I do. No, Andy and I'm the tech nerd, right? No, I've done Google Ads for 22 years.
Yeah.
And I'm a previous an accountant in a previous life, right? Oh. So I like the numbers. Yeah. I do the data. And yes, I do need people that can help me with creativity, because I
have to say, you and Andy are a bit like Kevin and I. Kevin's the accountant, etc. And I really strain to do the numbers. But Kevin, you know all about numbers, don't you, Kevin?
Absolutely. And I can see this, that the accountant's not the person you want to put in front of the video, because normally most accountants are far more comfortable talking to an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, but look at Simon. I mean, Simon's brilliant. I mean, honestly, you're very emotional. You've got all the stories. You understand your clients really well. But you've evolved from being an accountant, so you've probably changed instinctively anyway. But
I was lucky enough to escape the accountancy when something called the internet started, and started building websites and got into.
Wow!
I ran a really big e-commerce business, but something called Amazon came along and put me out of business. So
you really like these big,
more money than I did.
You like these big tech platforms, don't you? Really? I mean, at the end of the day, having said that, if YouTube went under tomorrow, would S.media stay solvent?
Probably not. No. So if we're honest, that is what we do. I do run Facebook ads for a select number of clients, but the competition in Facebook ads is There's so many people doing it from their bedrooms, etc. Even the issue with YouTube is it is very, very niche, and getting people to commit to it and understand. I can honestly sit here and say I've had 50 clients over lockdown that have gone through the test phase, and only 3-4 of them remain, because they don't understand. They need somebody who gets the fact that they can learn the numbers, where it's going. And then people also think, to do YouTube ads, I need to have a great YouTube channel. You don't at all. You need one video that acts as an ad. In the scenario I was talking about, the lady who does mortgage leads, she worked with us for 3 months, and then she's left to do it herself, which is fine. And I believe she now spends between £3 and £5 a day and gets 3 or 4 leads a day for mortgages. Right. And she has now developed into, she now gets it. She's got an amazing channel now. When she started out, she had next to nothing on mortgages, but she's grown, she's learned, she's now passionate about it. She now talks to her audience as she should do, and she doesn't have to really spend a lot because the channel does a lot of that for her.
And is it a bit like blogs used to? Well, I don't know, probably still are, that you have to keep going on. If you do a blog for a month.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we offer as a service to people is ranking videos on YouTube. Right. So it's really easy to get a video to the top of YouTube in less than an hour. Now, if you take the web and a blog, right? If you wrote a blog, you'll be lucky if that blog comes to the top of search engines ever, right? If you're lucky. Now, that's because Google wants to keep search really exactly what people want. Now, and by that I mean, if people start clicking on things on main Google and they're not getting great results, what happens? Google eventually goes, people move to another search engine. Well, we know that's not going to happen, but that's because Google won't put that type of content at the top. You couldn't write a blog now and it appears at the top of Google because you could have all sorts on it. Now, the difference with YouTube, get to my point, Simon, but the difference with YouTube is it will allow you to put a video at the top of YouTube within an hour because they want to test how good it is. They want to see people watching it. And then it's giving you the opportunity to go, well, people are watching this. The right type of person is watching it. Google are going, this is brilliant. People love this content, right? Or people aren't interested. And then they immediately discount the video and they wipe it. And it goes forever into the sea of uncertainty and into the obscurity, right? Yeah. But the point being, if you continue to make good content and you continue to work properly to get it ranked, it will come to the top. The right people will watch it. Then people will engage. And then you've got the magic of free leads. Because once you get, like the woman I've just described, you get to the point of you putting out content every day. And now you're motivated to do it because you know every video I put out, the phone rings.
And does this lady do a video a day, or is she just talking about, you know, the Commonwealth Games or about the Lionesses or something that's current, or is it I don't know, is it the same video that it just happens?
No, so she's still running ads, but she's running ads to her existing content.
Got you.
So she might have made a video for Sarah, the 25-year-old who's looking for a mortgage, and the struggles that she had trying to get through, and she had to get a CCJ wiped off of her record, blah, 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 right? That speaks to that very specific person. Because she's made that video 6 months ago, she can still run ads to it for Sarah's, right? Yeah. Then we've got other, but the most important thing is to plan and be consistent, because I get so many people who come and they get excited, right? And they want to do it, and they go and they do it for a couple of weeks, and then they stop, right? Because they're not getting results yet. Now, I would much rather have somebody come to me and say, I can commit to make one video a week. I'll put one video out a week for the next 3 months, and we'll see what happens. Rather than I'm going to put one out every day, because when you make that promise to yourself, you know you've broken it already. Yeah. So what we do is make a plan that says, right, so in that scenario, I'm going to put one video out a week for the next 12 weeks. Yeah. Well, why don't you just take 2 days to make those 12 videos, right? Make them all and then feed them out. And that's far less onerous in terms of workload, because you know what it's like. You're going to sit there on Sunday night or Monday morning, you're making your list for the week, and you go video for, I don't want to do that. You know, and that's the problem a lot of the time.
So the advice that you would give to us is to figure out the kinds of videos that are going to attract your ideal audience. So, you know, work it through, and to your partner's point of view, very, very emotional, have an emotional side to it. But to the points that you've been making, targeting is everything. It can be as emotional as you like, but if you send it to the wrong people, it's not going to work.
But the worst thing is sending it to the wrong people.
Yeah.
So as soon as Google sees it going in front of the wrong people, they will not help you. And the price will go up and up and up for the views, because you're showing, like, say I see, I don't want to make a general comment here, but like, say I see an advert for a handbag. I'm not in the market for handbags. And Google's going to go, well, you're showing it to the wrong person. Simon's not interested. You're actually degrading the search engine experience. So that's the overarching thought.
Got you. So in the sense that the video, Kevin and I have noticed over time that the podcast that we do, and it might be true for you as well, Simon, over time, that this podcast that we've done with you will eventually, somebody's searching Simon Young, and unfortunately you've got one of those names that's, you know, probably there's 1,000 Simon Youngs in the area, but basically but for you, if somebody's searching for you, they'll probably find our podcast with you. And that, you know, you said to me a little while ago that we should be putting, and Kevin, I know, is very, very much in support of this, we should be putting this Zoom videoed version of the podcast on YouTube. And because we're not, we're missing a trick. Absolutely. Yeah, missing a massive trick. But if you use something like Restream, so there's a tool that I use, restream.io, you can put it everywhere in one go. So it can go out as live as well. And live is something that, you know, obviously everyone needs to aspire to going live on all the channels, because you get so much more reach. Now, when I start talking to people about doing it live, then the real hackles go up and they're like, whoa, no chance. Like, I've got to do a live webinar with Rich Sheffrin, he's the guy who invented webinars, right? And I'm doing a webinar with him at the end of the month live, right? And that scares me to say, like, I know my subject inside out, or hopefully I come across that I do. You do. But but he's well known. I know of him as well.
So what we want to do is, Rich is one of my friends now. Like, we've got to know each other, and he's an amazing guy. But he's helped me an awful lot as well. So some of the videos that he's put out featuring me have been found by people and led to business. Yes. So, okay. The podcast, I think we're already planning to do that, aren't we, Kevin? So basically we'll do that. And anyway, and of course we've got the backlog as well. So we'll just put the whole. We don't put it all in one go. All right. Okay. Feed it in. Like, that will be an amazing opportunity, just to feed one in every 3 days, right? People will see it as a massively busy channel. And do you realize how much money you could earn off the back of that? Like, you could get hundreds of thousands a month just from the viewership once you've built it up. Like, I've seen clients earning millions a month off their YouTube channels. Well, we didn't start doing Zoom until about episode, God knows what, 150 or so. And so we used to use Skype. And then, of course, Skype got really bad. Then Kevin had a period out in the Middle East, and it was like, I don't know, it was a bit dodgy. And not the Middle East particularly, but the line, the connection. And so basically, we've gone through various iterations, but we probably have, 100, maybe 150? Probably the last 50, Graham, I've edited the video rather than the audio. And the podcast, I've just cut the MP3 file from the MP4. So we've got those. We could start. Would you start at the end and go backwards, or would you start at the first of the 50 and then go forward? Does it matter? It's a good question, Simon. Any thoughts? I would just start chopping it and putting it out straight away. The video onto. If you could use the audio as well in previous episodes and feed those in. If you made them into videos. But if the question is, should we just take what we've got in terms of video and put it on, you could put it on a daily basis onto YouTube if that was the case. Wow.
the one thing I'm so impressed with you anyway. I'm so impressed with S.media, and I genuine. Your strapline. You probably wrote it yourself, but ads that work for less, and you've given a really compelling proposition for people, of all kinds, who are probably thinking about YouTube, or at least they're thinking about leads and lead generation, and they probably thought, well, YouTube, but you've now given. There's almost that. The thing that I'm taking away is very, very important to get the right audience. Very, very important to get the right thing in the messaging in your series of videos. But the one other thing I was thinking about was, how long should these videos be? Do you have some short ones, or do you have longer ones?
Again, testing. That's what I say to people. And as a rule, the most successful length is about 2 to 3 minutes.
Right.
You can, for ranking purposes, to get a video to the top of YouTube, 10 to 20 minutes is better. Right. But you can have an ad that's an hour long if you really want, and you could test that. But, if I start saying to people, right, I want you to make an hour long video, good luck with that one. They run for the hills. But 2 or 3 minutes is enough. You normally go, information phase, call to action, tell people more about the product, testimonial, another call to action, more further information, and a final call to action. So it's not complicated.
And this has been absolutely amazing, and I am so enthused for the next 100 days YouTube channel, which I'm sure we've got, Kevin. If you haven't got it,
it exists. It exists.
It does exist, and it'll be one of our listeners setting it up right now. But well, thank God we're not live. But right, okay. But no, honestly, it's been an absolutely fantastic pleasure having you on the next 100 Days podcast.
Well, Graham, that opened my eyes completely as to what you can do with YouTube. And I'd only ever thought about YouTube as you have your own channel. Perhaps you allow Google to monetize it for you and show some adverts on your channel. I'd never turned that round to thinking about how easy it could be for just about any business to create YouTube adverts and how much you can target them. Certainly, it's been a big, big eye-opener for me today.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Simon a little while ago, and the one thing that impressed me was his grasp of the process and the grasp of the numbers. When it comes to direct marketing and the things that I do in everyday life, one thing you have to be clear about is how much money each lead's going to cost you, or cost the client. So from that point of view, he's really got a grip of that. But it's not cakewalk. You have to have a sort of a plan in mind and the ability to test, learn, reorganize and move forward again. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you need to do. Really like the bit about emotion and about, and I think, I'm not sure if I got the answer to the female thing, but I think I'll be very, very, very reluctant in the future for any client to take out females from any campaign whatsoever. And in fact, if anything, probably target copy at females and males, separately, so that they're being.
I think what you've got to remember is that the buying decision and the budget holder are not necessarily the same person.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just before we went on air, my wife wanted a salad strainer. You know, the one where we're growing salad in the garden, and then she washes it, and then it gets a bit damp. So it's one of those things that spins it round. I'll have that one. Looking over my shoulder, it was like, did I have a say in it? Not at all. So it was, but at the end of the day, did I pay for it? Different story.
That's the point, Graham.
So, but yes, from that point of view, today we've learned a fair bit, and there's a lot more you can learn about this. And the beauty about s.media, it's dead easy to remember, but there's a whole bunch of stuff on there. They have a blog, and they have explanations as to why you would want to choose YouTube. Good outfit, And I think, the thing is with Simon, he's very approachable. He does an awful lot of these speaking engagements because you can tell his passion for YouTube. So I think he's going to be, if you want to find new leads, you probably haven't even used YouTube properly. So, do some research, speak to Simon and his team and see where you can go.
Yeah. Well, I think the first question is, does your potential customer use YouTube very much? If the answer is yes, well, you should be in there.
Yeah, and I think the point is you don't need many of them, though, do you? If you can get the right audience, and it might take you a few iterations, and as he was saying, the cost per would be quite higher initially because you haven't quite refined it well enough. But once you've got an engine that's just churning over the right people every single time, and you're getting in leads for a couple of quid, happy days.
Absolutely. Okay. So I think we need to think about YouTube again for the podcast, Graham.
We definitely do. And we'll be taking steps soon to launch YouTube, but we'll do it in the way in which Simon suggested and launch an episode, probably a back catalogue first, going forward every few days, and then we can go from there. So today, I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.